Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is the International Space Station. We are ready for the event.
Storied Media Group, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Chris Jacobs with Storied Media Group. How do you hear me?
Chris, we have you loud and clear. Welcome to the International Space Station.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to each of you. How are you guys doing up there?
Doing great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Victor.
Hey, Chris, good to talk to you. We are doing wonderful, great.
Soichi, so good to hear your voices. I'm glad you guys have been doing well up there on the ISS. Victor, how was your first space flight? Was it everything you thought it would be?
It was everything and more. The rocket launch, getting into orbit, seeing the planet from orbit the first time, coming into the expanse of the International Space Station and seeing Kate, Sergey, and Sergey on the other side, getting to talk to my family from space. It has just been an amazing journey.
I can't even imagine how cool that must be for you, Victor, on your first time. Do either of you have any advice for Crew 2, who will be the next to launch?
My advice is for them to launch on time.
That's a good one. Hey, probably my advice is expect unexpected.
That's great advice, Soichi, coming from someone who definitely knows. Victor, tell me about your first spacewalk.
The first spacewalk was actually the first two. They were very busy. I didn't take a lot of pictures. I was focused on the tasks. It took me until the third and the fourth spacewalk to really appreciate being out there, stopping to take a picture or just to kind of look at the views. One of my colleagues told me before going out the hatch to keep your world small, to focus on the task that you're working on before you open that aperture up wider and wider. And so I focused on doing that, and I was pretty busy on those first two. So I was a little busier than the last two, and I was able to take some more pictures. But that first time going out the hatch and seeing the Earth from 260 miles up was just indescribable, really hard to describe. Beautiful.
Victor, a lot of astronauts talk about how seeing that view of Earth from space changed them. Did it affect or change you?
It definitely affects me. Change, I think, if anything, it pushes me further along. It makes me think it's even more important to take care of our planet and looking down at the world without borders and understanding that humans are all connected. It just makes me see and experience that connection even more. Even though we're way up here kind of far from the rest of humanity, I see that Earth is a system. Soichi just posted a picture of dust blowing from the plains of Africa westward toward the east coast of the United States. It is a system. The globe is a system, and we're all connected. And seeing the planet from up here just makes me appreciate that even more.
Really gives you a new perspective. Soichi, how was the flight on Dragon compared to the flights on the shuttle and the Soyuz rocket?
Oh, I would say this is the best of the three. Well, actually, yeah, the space shuttle, Soyuz, Dragon, all of them has each the good thing about the bad thing. But the SpaceX, definitely, I really enjoyed the ride. But the most important things, all three vehicles bring us safely back home. So we are hoping that we have a wonderful return trip coming in a few weeks.
All of us back down here on Earth are hoping the same thing, Soichi. Victor, you're about to do your first splashdown ever. It's only the second time since 1972 for a U.S. craft that there's been a splashdown. Any nerves associated with that? Aside from your training, what are you going to do to keep yourself calm?
You know, the training is actually really good. It's we have a rigorous training program that we're going to start actually now as we get ready for what we call a port relocation. We're going to move to a different parking space, if you will, and so that training is actually going to continue right through going home. We do some of the same things in preparation for the actual undock to go back to Earth and splash down. And honestly, focusing on my training and those small things that I have to do is the best hope that I have to, in the moment, just focus on doing those actual things that I had trained to do. And so that's my plan. That's what I did for launch. I made sure that when the commander had a question or wanted to know what what altitude or what airspeed or velocity we were at, that I had that information. And so I'm just going to focus on doing those, keeping my world small and doing one thing at a time. And the rest of it, though, is unknown, and we'll just deal with it together, all four of us.
I want to ask you a couple more questions about the redocking in just a moment, but before I do that, Soichi, a question for you. Any words of advice for Victor about splashing down? Is it true that you have to brace yourself for the impact, and how quickly does the landing sneak up on you after falling for so long?
Yeah, Chris, that's a good question. Obviously, this is the first splashdown since 1972. So both of us, this is first, splashdown into ocean. So we will just see how it goes. But obviously, for the landing portion, yeah, I'll be proud to say that I will be the first person to do the first concrete for space shuttle. The ground on the Soyuz this time is the ocean, so 3 different type of landing. So I'll be really happy to experience it. But for the landing, like Ike said, we have a good training. We are prepared and just execute.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're probably one of very few people who have experienced all of those types of landings. Victor, what do you think it's going to feel like seeing the flames out the windows as you re-enter Earth's atmosphere? And talk a little bit about how essential the heat shields are.
Well, seeing those flames go out the window means that things are going as they're supposed to, and it's also that's going to be the point where we lose the ability to communicate with the ground. That plasma field around the spacecraft makes it so that the communication systems don't work, and then we come out of that blackout and we reestablish communication. So that's what I'm going to be thinking about, is making sure that we're making the call at the right time to reestablish communication so that the folks on the ground know that we're safe. The heat shield, it is absolutely vital. A heat shield is such an important component. That's why NASA and our partners, Boeing, SpaceX, and everybody else that makes human spacecraft or any spacecraft that return in the atmosphere from space, they do extensive testing because it has to work. It has to be robust. And so, if you imagine rubbing your hands together, how they get a little bit warm, imagine if you could move your hands 5 miles per second. That's how fast we're going when we enter the atmosphere. So it creates a lot of heat, a lot of friction. It also creates a lot of pressure, and so that force requires the heat shield to be structurally strong, but it also has to be thermally strong. So it's a vital system.
That's a great analysis, and it's amazing that you guys are traveling at that rate of speed when you're re-entering the atmosphere. Soichi, there were concerns about the heat shield performance after the Demo 2 mission when Bob and Doug went up to the ISS. What was the concern regarding those heat shields, and how was it fixed?
Yeah, Chris, that's a good question. First of all, I consider myself as a Columbia survivor. 3 of my classmates passed away in the Columbia accident. So heat shield is heart and soul of my space flight for the last 17 years. And this time, Demo 2 see a little bit of overheat on the heat shield. And the bottom line is both SpaceX and NASA, along with JAXA as well, they are all work very hard to come up with a great solution. And one of the flight director at NASA, Zeb Scoville, is also work with me on the STS-114. So he's also the Columbia survivor. So during the meeting, I said, Zeb, if you look me in my eyes and say this is a great vehicle to fly, I will ride on it. And here I am. And I believe in NASA, I believe in Zeb, and I believe in SpaceX.
And we believe in you as well. Soichi, thank you for that answer. Guys, Crew 1 will be doing a maneuver that a U.S. crewed capsule has never done before when you move Resilience to a different dock on the ISS to make room for Crew 2. Can you explain what is going to happen and how that's going to happen?
Absolutely. So the four of us are going to suit up, similar to what we're going to do to prepare to go home. And we're going to get into the vehicle, depressurize the vestibule. That's the space between the space station and our spacecraft. And then we're going to undock. We're going to remove ourselves from the forward docking point. So in the direction that station travels, we are docked to the front of the space station. And then we're going to back away to 60 meters. And then we're going to fly up above, away from the Earth to the top of the space station. And then commence the final portion of approach and recontact on the zenith side, or the top of the space station. And so that's why I say it's going to be good training for coming home, because the undock portion will start very similar to the eventual undock when we go to splash down. And then the entry back into the space station will be similar to what we did when we first got here. We'll repressurize or pressurize that vestibule, make sure that the pressure holds, and then we'll come back through and see our crewmates again on the other side. This is very similar to what the Sergey, and Kate did just about a week ago by moving their Soyuz. They actually went from the bottom all the way to the top, so about 180 degrees of rotation, and we're just going to go 90 from the forward to the top side, but very similar to the Soyuz maneuver that they just did.
And Soichi, since this is the first time that this is going to be attempted, an undocking and a redocking in a different port, are there any concerns? What will be your focus during this maneuver?
Yeah, Chris, obviously this is a complex maneuver. SpaceX is famous for doing a lot of things in automatic, but this one, both Hopper, our commander, and Ike, pilot, has a lot of manual things to do, putting a lot of commands into the system, because, redocking, the undocking, fly around, and redocking comes up with a different phase of the control system. So this is quite rare for the SpaceX vehicle that the pilots and the commanders' skills are tested. And I believe most of them will be pass the test with flying colors.
Thanks.
I'm confident that they will be passing with flying colors also, Soichi. Thank you for that. Now, guys, this is the first time that actually a rocket is going to be reused. In fact, a capsule that Bob and Doug used will be used, and the rocket that you guys flew on will be reused as well. So which is better, new equipment or proven equipment that is being reused? Is there a difference? Do you guys think about that at all?
Similar to what we talked about earlier with heat shield, the extensive testing that goes into it. All of those things, really, when you're producing any good, and anything out there receives a ton of testing. You want to make a good product, you have to test it. And so all of those things are done to make that production process better, to improve the quality of the products that come out of that. And so a brand new vehicle that is made to NASA and our partners' human spaceflight specifications that meet those requirements, that's going to be a good vehicle on its first flight. But it's obviously nice to have legacy, a bunch of flights behind you that prove that what you started with and what you wanted to get is what you got. And so a reused vehicle that worked and that has been maintained to those same standards is also a great vehicle. So is one better than the other? I'm a test pilot, and so I like the idea of flying a new vehicle, but it does come with some risk. It's nice to have a vehicle that has legacy, we call it flight legacy or heritage, that has some flights on it, and so it has a proven performance record. This vehicle is very robust, and I think that the crew is going to enjoy the ride on that Falcon. We sure did, and Bob and Doug seem to enjoy their ride on Endeavour, so I think Crew 2 is in for a treat.
Guys, space.
Yeah, Chris, just.
Oh, go ahead, Soichi. Sorry.
Yeah, so Chris, just for the record, the best capsule always is a resilience, period. But, for the new vehicle and used vehicle thing is, I think, I'm old school. I thought always the new rocket, the new capsule is the right thing. But obviously we are witnessing the paradigm shift. So from now on, maybe the used one has a maybe better record. So we'll see. But I don't have any concern with the Crew 2 guys using the reused capsule and the reused booster.
I love it, and I love the pride you take in the vessel that you flew on, Soichi. That's great. Guys, space has been very tight up there on the ISS since you've arrived. In fact, Mike Hopkins had to sleep in the Dragon since there weren't enough beds there. When Crew 2 arrives, it'll bring the total up to 11 people on the ISS. What is the plan to fit so many people?
So, we're doing this interview from the airlock, and so I might actually be living in here for a little while. A few of us will move out of our crew quarters to give them space to move in and get their setup ready, since they're going to be here for a lot longer than we will at that point. And so we will move out and do what we call camp out. And, your sleeping bag just needs to be attached to something so that you just don't float around in the middle of the night. It is nice to have a door that you can close, but essentially at night when the lights are off, we all have our own bit of privacy. And it is going to be crowded, but we make do. We, if nothing else, have proven that the folks that get to come up here, if they're anything at all, they're adaptable and flexible. So we'll put that to use for a few days as we're all up here together. But then we'll get out of their hair and let them enjoy all the space of the space station.
And I can imagine that the resources might be stretched a bit thin. The wait for the bathroom, is there a hierarchy system on who gets to go first?
There is. Don't tell Crew 2 this, though. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Actually, it's really interesting. We have not had many issues with that, if any. I don't recall any issues. And so it just seems to work out. We're all so busy during the day that it is nice to see each other. But one place that we typically don't see each other is waiting for the hygiene facilities. And so we've been really fortunate. Now, when you throw a whole nother spacecraft worth of crew up here, 4 more people, yeah, there may be a few, but I think that we'll be able to work that out like ladies and gentlemen.
Guys, in all seriousness, there's been a lot.
Yeah, Chris, if I may add, just quickly. Yeah, for the WC toilet-wise, that's one big pleasant surprise. 10 years ago, the last day, I have a lot of issue with the toilet system. So often I have to go to the Russian side to use the toilet. But this time, I don't remember a single day without the toilet system. Everything works as expected. So I don't have a huge concern while the Crew 2 is coming, except Crew 1 has a priority in the toilet.
Of course, you guys have paid your dues up there. You definitely get priority, and I'm glad to hear that $1 million throne is working out well for you guys. Gentlemen, there's been a lot of big news involving space travel. What do you think of Perseverance landing, progress on the Starship, and the announcement of civilian crews someday traveling on Dragons to space?
Chris, that's a great topic, and we could talk just for hours about that. I think all space is good space. I'm rooting for everybody. I want them to go out and do it professionally, do it well, and to be safe and to get back home to their family, loved ones, and their friends so that they can tell that story. So it's just an amazing time. Being a first-time flyer, I feel like I've been up here for so many great events, and it's just been awesome. We were gathered around the computer watching Perseverance land, and then a few days later when they put out that awesome landing video, I think all of us watched it on our iPads, and it was just an amazing thing to witness. And so it's a great time to be in this business, and I'm rooting for everyone. And so I hope that everybody does whatever their mission is safely. That's my biggest concern.
And guys,
hey, Chris, if I may add, one thing, don't forget about the successful green run of the SLS. Actually, we witnessed the test from here, all of us watching the screen. And Ike and Kate Rubins are the Artemis group. So their vehicle is getting ready. So I'm fully anticipate Ike and Kate going up in the beyond the Earth's orbit, going to the moon, Mars, and beyond. So that's the one huge step for them.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure you guys were watching those test flights very, very closely, and glad to hear that they're successful. Guys, in just the last couple minutes we have left, would you please do a shout-out for the splashdown that will be coming up? Please send a message to everyone back home, and please thank everybody for the well wishes that you guys have been receiving.
To everyone who has supported us through this journey, thank you for your love and support. It has been an amazing part of this journey. In fact, my favorite part of this journey. To my family, friends, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been much more improved by your love and support and encouragement along the way. And to all of the folks at NASA and at SpaceX, and actually all of our flight control teams all around the world that have supported us throughout this mission, thank you. Your professionalism and pride in what you do has been motivating to us, and I hope that our work up here has made you proud. Thank you.
Well, I really like to thank everyone, my family, my friends, my loved ones, all the people at NASA, JAXA, ESA, Russian around the world. Really enjoyed every moment here with the great colleagues here. And people ask us, yeah, how's the life here? And the space is great. But I would say Earth is beautiful, and Earth is a precious space. So although I enjoy staying in space station, I'm more than happy to go back to this beautiful planet called Earth.
Victor and Soichi, it's been my honor and my pleasure to talk to you. What a cool experience this has been for me. Good luck with the rest of your mission on the ISS, and Godspeed for your journey back to Earth.
Thank you, Chris. Good to talk to you. Arigato.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants from Storied Media Group. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.